What I try
All
to
right,
do
we're
is
live.
I rotate.
We're ready
It's
to
like
start.
I'll spend a day with the team out in
Awesome.
Calabasas, spend a day with the team out in Van Nuys. We'll check in with the team in Hollywood, and then 1 week stay back. So I get out to Calabasas. And like on Satakoy, in Van Nuys. There's a big county building, a one-stop shop that was built a while ago.
That should be here.
Okay, well, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, okay.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, good afternoon. We'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to the Westside City Council of Governments Board meeting. It's Thursday, August 14th, 2025 here in the city of West Hollywood. I'll call this meeting to order at 12:04 p.m. And we'll begin with a round of introductions. Should we get started to my left here? Introduce staff. Great.
Sounds great. This is Riley O'Brien, Westside City's COG Project Director.
Hello, everyone. Natalie Camarena, Counsel for the COG.
Cecilia Solano, Executive Director of the Westside Cities Council of Government.
Chelsea Byers, Mayor for the City of West Hollywood, voting member here and happy to be the new chair. Thank you.
Erlan Molina, Governmental Affairs Liaison for the City of West Hollywood.
Sharona Nazarian, Mayor for City of Beverly Hills, voting member, and I guess I'm the new vice.
Right.
Hi, I'm Mandy Jiang, Senior Management Analyst with City of Beverly Hills, non-voting member.
Hi, everyone. Yasmin Amani McMorrin, Culver City. I cannot remember if I have a role on this body, but I am here and happy to be here if I do have a role, and I'm a voting member.
Ryan Hun, Transportation Planner, City of Culver City.
Shelley Wolfberg, Assistant to the City Manager, Culver City.
Hello, Austin Sear, alternate for Supervisor Lindsay Horvath, voting member.
Thank you. And just noting the current absence of our voting member from Santa Monica, who will hopefully be joining us shortly. Okay, great. Perfect. We'll go to item 3, the action item, starting with item A, the June 12th board meeting notes. The first items for approval. Do we have any motions to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
Terrific. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Sure. City of Beverly Hills.
Yes.
City of Culver City.
Yes.
City of Santa Monica, not present. City of West Hollywood.
Yes.
County of Los Angeles.
Yes.
Okay, that's a unanimous vote.
Terrific. Thank you all. We'll move to item B, the transportation, the West Side Subregional Bus Infrastructure Network. And I'll hand over the presentation to staff.
Great. Madam Chair, thank you so much. As you recall, in June, the board voted to form an ad hoc request for proposals working group to release and evaluate the request for proposals around the bus infrastructure. Consultant services are trying to accelerate our bus lanes in advance of the 2028 gains. So we will have Natalia from Camarena, our legal counsel, will present on this item. Please.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the board. The recommended action this afternoon is twofold. The first of which is to approve the STV Incorporated, the consulted team recommended by the COG ad hoc request for proposals working group for the West Side Quick Build Bus Infrastructure Project. Second of which is to authorize COG legal counsel and COG executive director to execute a contract with a selected consultant with a scope of work equivalent to the technical approach included in the RFP response and a budget not to exceed of $1,714,932. And if contract negotiations are not successful, to similarly negotiate and execute a contract with the next proposer in order to score in order of scores subject to the same terms noted above. Background on this item. In February 2025, the COG board voted to approve the programming of $2,675,586 in fiscal year 25-26 and fiscal year 26-27 SEP funds for the bus infrastructure design phase outreach, and design phase data collection for Santa Monica Boulevard, Sepulveda Boulevard, and La Cienega Boulevard, Jefferson Boulevard, to enable implementation and operation during and after the 2028 games. In February 2025, COG Board also authorized COG staff to work with COG Transportation Working Group to draft a request for proposals for technical consultant services. In May 2025, The Metro Planning and Programming Committee and Metro Board of Directors voted to approve programming COG SCP funds for the West Side Quick Build Bus Infrastructure Program, including $1,714,932 for the COG RFP. After Metro approval, COG SCP programming request, COG staff created the COG Design Working Group, a smaller subset of the TWG consisting only of staff from each COG member jurisdiction. In May and June 2025, COG staff worked with DWG to draft and revise the RFP for technical consultant services for bus infrastructure design, design phase outreach, and design phase data collection. In June 2025, COG Board authorized COG staff to collaborate with the Design Working Group to form the ad hoc RFP Working Group to release the RFP and evaluate proposals. The RFP timeline is set forth in the staff report. And a brief discussion of the evaluation and selection process. The RFP Working Group received 3 proposals for the West Side Quick Build Bus Infrastructure Project, which is attached to the report as Attachment B. The Working Group reviewed proposals based on the 4 evaluation criteria listed in Table 1 below, included in the staff report. Additionally, out of an abundance of caution and to avoid any appearance of any conflicts of interest, COG staff, Estolano advisors, did not create the evaluation criteria or participate in the RFP evaluation and selection process. Table 1 in the report, as mentioned above, discussed evaluation criteria, so I will not discuss that in detail, but it is set forth in the report. And that concludes the report on this item.
Terrific. So the action before us today is to approve the consultant team selected by the ad hoc working committee and the associated contract and scope of work. And within this is approval that if these negotiations aren't successful, we give authority to move on to the next best submitted proposal. Are there any questions or do we have a motion for approval?
Comment?
Oh. Terrific. We'll take the public comment then, and then we will move back into our discussion. Apologies.
Yeah, do I stand here? Good evening. My name is Victor Omolchenko, and I'm a long-term resident of West Hollywood. And I just bicycled here, so I just wanted to speak on behalf of us members of the West Hollywood Bicycle Coalition, of all the bicyclists, also pedestrians and motorists in this whole region. I want to thank all the cities that are represented here, including Council District 5 and Council District 11, for working on bicycle infrastructure. I've been in this area for almost a quarter of a century, and I remember when there were just very few amenities, very few bicycle lanes, very little infrastructure. So I'm so happy to see that you're working on transportation issues. I know this is a general comment, but I also wanted to mention that on August 19th, in our historic Plummer Park, the city of West Hollywood will be looking at what I call Stop the Fountain Freeway, meaning Stop Fountain Freeway. It is an avenue, a residential avenue. We know that 37,000 cars pass through it, 2/3 of which are not really West Hollywood folks. So I know we've been giving folks an opportunity to get through the city fast, but not without a lot of costs, meaning in terms of accidents, the recent death of bicyclist Blake Ackerman on July 10th. So whatever you can do to improve the regional bicycle infrastructure, and I know that Kevin Burton of the Bicycle Coalition and I spoke about this 20 years ago when we were biking to work. And so increased public safety is very, very important. And I'd like to just say that quick fixes are good to have too. So I was just in Beverly Hills, and I know that Beverly Hills was sort of last to the game in designating bike lanes. But when they did do their bike lanes, they designated also a quick fix to make them visible to all us bicyclists by painting them green. And I know that our city is working, West Hollywood, on painting our bicycle lanes green. And I hope that the entire region-wide West Side Cities Council of Governments will consider improving that kind of infrastructure that we already have with a quick fix, for instance, green painted bike lanes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have any other members of the public who wish to speak? Okay. We'll bring it back to this body for any questions or a motion. Welcome, Santa Monica Councilmember Jesse Lee. Any questions from this board, or do we have a motion for approval? Move for motion to approve from Beverly Hills and a second from Culver City. Can we get a roll call vote?
Beverly Hills, Culver City, Santa Monica,
Which item? Sorry.
Item B, the regional bus.
B,
Great. Yes.
West Hollywood,
Yes.
City of Los Angeles, not present, and County of Los Angeles.
Yes.
Item passes unanimously.
Terrific. We'll move into item 3C. Is that correct? 3C, housing, the Regional Early Action Plan Sub-Regional Partnership Program. I'll hand over the presentation to staff. Thank you so much.
Great. And Riley O'Brien's going to present on this item. Take it away, Riley.
Cecilia, can you all hear me?
Yeah.
For this item, this is building upon our work with SCAG under REAP 2.0, the Regional Early Action Plan, for alignment with regional and state housing goals. And this is something we've been working on for several years now. Back in 2022, the Regional Early Action Planning Sub-Regional Partnership Program was approved, and SCAG basically uses a formula to allocate funds from that program to individual COGs, including the West Side COG. Back in 2023, staff developed a scope of work for our REAP 2.0 funds that we have had access to since then. And we had aligned on an implementation strategy and implementation approach for developing a potential regional housing trust. Some of the benefits of a regional housing trust would include potential access to state funds, as well as broader sub-regional coordination around affordable housing production. There were some delays and budget challenges with REAP funds, but we were able to finally get the scope of work and the RFP released earlier this year. In February, the board authorized COG Legal Counsel to execute a memorandum of understanding with SCAG to release an RFP for consultant services. And then back in June, SCAG released that RFP. We had members from a proposal review committee that included a representative from SCAG, a representative from Beverly Hills, from Culver City, and from Santa Monica that reviewed the proposals. Out of an abundance of caution, Estelano Advisors, or as Westside City's COG staff, did not participate in the proposal review committee. But SCAG did, SCAG and the proposal review committee reviewed proposals based on the evaluation criteria in your packet and came back with a recommendation to select Harris and Associates with the as the recommended consultant. There was a slightly higher budget than originally anticipated, which when we had previously discussed this item, the priority had been around the housing element, that the regional housing trust implementation, and direction from the board was consistently that the technical assistance was more of a backup plan, more of a contingency or an option for the scope of work. If the board were to choose not to move forward with the housing trust, it would be, essentially an alternate pathway for the consultant to help each city implement housing, their housing elements. So there is that change that SCAG and the proposal review committee had recommended to shift task 11, housing element technical assistance, to an optional task. With that, I will turn it back to the chair and note also that we have SCAG staff online through Zoom available to answer any questions.
Terrific. Does the board have any questions before I ask if there's any public comment? Seeing none.
We do have a public comment.
We do? Okay.
Victor Omolchenko, longtime West Hollywood resident. I guess I'll move up here so I can look at all of you because I'm seeing the backs of some of the people. So what I wanted to say about this contract is I just reviewed it, and thank you for reviewing all 208 pages of this voluminous agenda. What I wanted to say about this is the whole concept of a housing trust is important. I realize you're looking at ways to bridge the gap when you don't have funding available. How are you going to do that? And you're enlisting Harrison Associates to help you out with this project. As a citizen who's been involved in the housing element as it was developed here in West Hollywood, and your chair, Mayor Byers of West Hollywood, was also on the task force leading up to the housing element. I think it's a very, very important topic. And I would just wonder, I didn't see in the report, did Harrison Associates ever do anything statewide in any other region, any other county, any other urban area, looking at housing trusts? And what can we learn about from previously done work? Is, I noticed that somebody said the budget is larger than it was originally supposed to be. So has this concept or model of a housing trust been looked at previously by other places? And I guess bottom line is, do we always need to see contracts and contracts and contracts? And could we learn from maybe other contracts that Harris Associates or other people in the field had? I noticed that there were about 9,600 units of affordable housing that have to be developed in the sub-region. And I want you to know that the city of West Hollywood, I think, is doing our fair share. Our housing element identifies 3,933 units, but there's a long way to go towards fulfilling the needs of housing. And so if this contract, in your deemed opinion, is really going to give you a model for how to develop a housing trust, then I think that's very good. But
Thank you,
I also
Victor.
sometimes wonder,
Victor,
Yeah.
that's the end of your time. Thank
oh,
you so
I
much.
didn't hear that.
It's okay. My mic was coming in. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
We appreciate the comments. I'm gonna come back to the board if there's any questions or comments. If not, yes, Vice Chair.
I'd just like to share that I appreciate that it was an inclusive process and all of our cities were able to be involved in taking a view of the contract. And I'd like to suggest moving forward that we continue to do that, just so that we all have a voice when we're looking at these types of items, because we may bring different levels of expertise when we all work together.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions from the board? If not, do we have a motion for approval?
Move to approve.
A motion from the Vice Chair. Second from Culver City. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Beverly Hills.
Yes.
Culver City.
Yes.
Santa Monica.
Yes.
West Hollywood.
Yes.
County of Los Angeles.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is approved.
Thank you. We're moving through this. Item 3D, housing, the Los Angeles County Affordable Housing Solutions Agency. I'll hand this back to staff for a presentation on this item.
So before Riley gets into the details, I just want to note, we've really planned this agenda to spend most of the time on this. This is a significant new program that the county is launching because of a ballot measure that was approved. This is a significant amount of money that is going to be augmenting our ability to tackle housing issues in the subregion. And we've worked very closely with your staff in trying to come up with a way to plan for this as we launch new programs and new initiatives that we've not had to do at the subregional level. So that's just the preface. And take it away, Riley.
Thank you, Cecilia. And if we move on to the next slide, we can start getting into some of these details. First of all, the recommended action will be, we're recommending approval of what we have as a high-level budget framework for the fiscal year 25-26 La Casa funds. And we're also recommending that the board authorize staff to work with staff from each of the jurisdictions, as well as La Casa staff, to finalize that budget to ensure that it addresses all of the requirements, which are changing by the week at this point, but really getting very close to final, as I understand. I believe they're going to be finalized in the next week. So just moving on to the next slide, what we have and what we mentioned during our last meeting in June is around $7 million coming into the West Side subregion from La Casa. This is actually an increase from the last time we spoke because La Casa had sent some of their discretionary funds to each of the COGs proportionally. So back then it was $5.8 million. Now we have $7 million available in La Casa funds. And this is on behalf of the way it's distributed is on behalf of our 4 smaller cities. The city of Los Angeles and unincorporated Los Angeles County receive their own allocations of La Casa funds. So on behalf of the 4 smaller cities in our subregion, we have $7 million available for the current fiscal year. That includes roughly $2.1 million for renter protection and homelessness prevention, around $4.5 million for production, preservation, and ownership, and around $350,000 for technical assistance. Since our last meeting in June, COG staff have met with housing and homelessness prevention staff from each city, from other LA County COGs, from affordable housing developers and housing nonprofits, tenant protection advocates and homelessness prevention experts, and various other local experts. And one thing that we've heard consistently, especially from your cities, is that renter protection and homelessness prevention is a really great area of need, very urgent area of need. We all know that preventing homelessness is extremely important at this moment. And beyond that, we've learned some of the details around with federal and state cuts to budgets, with the wildfire response, with so many other challenges, that a lot of these programs that were just starting to make a difference after the pandemic are under threat. And so that's why what we're recommending is passing through our entire regional or renter protection homelessness prevention allocation, passing through that entire $2.1 million to the cities proportionally based on their share of renters at risk of homelessness, which is the same criteria that La Casa used. So passing on those funds based on need. And what we can also do, if we go on to the next slide, I think it gets into this. So what you can see what that looks like. It's in your packet as far as what each city would receive from that $2.1 million. This is the same criteria La Casa used to distribute funds between the COGs. It's based on a housing and urban development data set for the last several years. What we can also do is bring in an additional 5% of this $2.1 million from La Casa. They're offering to match these funds. If we as COG staff participate in planning around a future integrated service model. This is a model of legal services and rental assistance that would help renters and kind of be a one-stop shop that would reduce a lot of the administrative burden. It's currently in a pilot stage. Only a couple of jurisdictions are participating in it now, but La Casa wants to let us into that design and planning process, and they're actually incentivizing us to do so with a 5% match. So with that in mind, I want to move us along to the next slide. And this is just another way of visualizing what the 5% match looks like in addition to the larger pass-through share from the $2.1 million. So if we look to the next slide, we are also thinking very carefully about our allocation for production, preservation, and ownership. We have heard from, we already knew some of this at a high level, but we heard some of the details from city staff and from affordable housing developers that this allocation, it's really a drop in the bucket when it comes to affordable housing production. It's very small relative to the high cost of housing construction. But at the same time, and as you'll see in your packet as well, La Casa is actually holding on to about 1/3 of the county's production, preservation, ownership funds that they could spend at their discretion. And so, those funds, they could go anywhere in LA County. And we think the West Side is a logical place to invest additional funds, given, we have so many jobs, we have so many destinations, we have so much new high quality transit that there's already been some efforts around joint development of metro-owned land and various other initiatives that really make the West Side a logical place to not only build more affordable housing the traditional way, but to try some new ways of financing affordable housing. And so our recommendation is to work closely with city staff and staff from La Casa to identify innovative ways to spend that $3.5 million and essentially grow that amount so that we're not just limited to these types of piecemeal adjustments around the edges. That said, we do know that when it comes to flexible, especially this flexible pot of funds that can go not only towards new construction, but also toward, and these are required dollar amounts, by the way. We have to spend the $3.5 million on new construction. That $1 million, there's flexibility there. So we know that, for example, West Hollywood has explored a potential community land trust. We know that we have apartments that maybe have affordable covenants expiring or just facing, maintenance needs. And so we want to also have that flexible funding remain as flexible as possible, but be able to respond to immediate needs, whether in collaboration with La Casa or just more directly. And so with all of that in mind, we're proposing this high-level framework for the production, preservation, and ownership budget. And then lastly, our technical assistance budget, if we go on to the next slide, we have a detailed scope of work that we're proposing, but it's really simply broken into 3 buckets. The first one is really around supporting the renter protection and homelessness prevention dollars. And what's great about technical assistance is that it is the most flexible of the funding sources when it comes to administrative needs. So we're actually recommending not spending any COG administrative funds in our PHP or PPO, but really using the TA budget to cover the administrative needs. We know, at least with the city programs under our PHP, that there will be some administrative needs, but we want to take on as much of the reporting as possible. It's going to be the same templates across the board. We want to offer assistance there. And we want all those dollars that are able to go to programming to actually go to the programming and not get caught up in paperwork, essentially. So we're proposing helping using the TA funds to help with the integrated service model preparation, as well as the general reporting and evaluation for renter protection and homelessness prevention. This would be an expanded role for COG staff. Similarly, we're recommending using TA funds to cover some of the general costs and just procedures of receiving these funds and understanding some of the details around the guidelines. So we are recommending setting aside a small portion to accounting, financial management, legal services. And then in terms of looking at the production, preservation, and ownership, we've proposed setting aside funds to, again, work with La Casa staff to identify those potential opportunity sites, potential priority projects to really, build some innovative projects and operate some, whether it's a notice of funding availability or a call for projects, a really straightforward and clear way of distributing these funds to the projects that have the greatest need and the greatest potential benefit. And really across the board, what we're envisioning is a data-driven and community-driven approach where we have, information analyzed, visualized very clearly on our website and in, a hub for data to really show where we're making progress. And as these programs continue to evolve, where we might need to pivot and respond quickly. So we want to be able to make that partnership very, very clean and clear. So if we go on to the next slide, we can see just an example of what a data hub might look like, showing where there's new construction, opportunity sites, and so on. There's something like this already for example, the next slide in West Hollywood. You can see individual cities. If we go on to the next slide, there should be from California Housing Partnership. So it should be this. You can see some of this data already exists. It's on, the California Housing Partnership, for example, shows current construction and recently completed projects. But to be able to unify all of that within the COG subregion and also offer additional data, looking at where there are immediate needs and where there's progress being made and maybe where there are long-term opportunities can be really promising. So with that, I want to just go to the next slide and again, just leave this here as a summary of our proposed budget. And I don't know, Cecilia, if there's anything you want to add.
think we're done. So we're happy to answer any questions.
I have a quick question.
Thank you.
I wanted to get clarification. Can you define AMI? What does that involve in that?
Area median income and the geography of the area and median income. I think we have it defined not by the subregion, I don't believe,
I believe it's by county.
by the county.
Other questions from board members? Councilmember Zwick?
Yeah, I'm looking through, first of all, thank you. I'm excited to get to work in implementing some of this. I think it's spot on that we should be using a lot of our PPO funds to hopefully leverage against greater funding sources and be actively pursuing sites on the west side to collaborate with La Casa. I'm looking at the technical assistance side of things. It seemed like a lot of potentially good projects or ideas of how to use it or administer it. It does strike me that it's, the amount of salary would encompass one or two people's jobs maybe. And I'm curious, are we looking, I can't imagine that current COG staff have an extra full-time, job worth of time. So I'm wondering how we actually are going to be, taking all this on. Are we hiring more? Or what are we planning to do in that regard, I guess? I guess that's my first question.
Through the chair. It's okay.
Yeah, of course.
Councilmember Sweck, thank you for the question. We anticipate, so we have a pretty deep bench in our firm. We have folks who have been working on housing production in different capacities. We imagine that we will be able to reassign staff to focus on these production programs. As you know, we're passing through the homelessness prevention stuff. A lot of that's going to be admin, and we will be calling upon our operations staff that has really excellent accounting features to be able to help us to track that. That's going to be quite laborious, to be honest with you, on the administrative level. But in terms of the policy and program design, we have the benefit of having worked on housing developments and housing policy up and down the state and anticipate drawing upon the expertise of our existing staff. We don't anticipate hiring new dedicated staff, but if it looks like we need it, then we will. So the other thing I might note is that TA money doesn't all have to be spent in the first year. And so we can imagine maybe rolling that over once we have a better sense of the programs that we're designing. So we're building the plane while we are flying it.
I noticed one line item around a housing trust fund, and we just talked about engaging consultants on that. So I'm trying to understand what this portion is.
So that new consultant that's going to be brought on board, Harris & Associate, is literally going to be designing how do you do a housing trust fund. If the board wanted to move forward, we could take some of the money that we have in this allocation and use it to stand it up. And that was what we anticipated.
Okay.
Like actually getting the housing trust going now.
And the last thing is this coordination with member jurisdictions. That's essentially, I guess I kind of think that's what this body does normally, but I'm trying to just kind of understand that a little bit more.
So that coordination could be, depending on what we decide to do, how we want to administer either the PPO funds or dealing with designs of new programs, is right now we do that around the homelessness funds. We haven't really done that around production. We just haven't. So this is a new role for us to play, which will require a different working group that's specifically focused on what's the best way to spend this more flexible money than typically cities will have. And so we anticipate that's pulling together a working group, much like board member Sharona noted, we do better when we work in a subregion together. It could mean that we are jointly issuing a NOFA. If, for example, we decided to make it for pre-development costs, that would make sense to maybe do a mini NOFA or leveraging other funding sources to do so. So again, to be determined, but that's our anticipation.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions from the board?
I have questions.
Vice Chair?
So thank you for the report. I'm actually excited because we do want to see additional funding for housing, and it's important that it's great that this allocation has come forward. I guess I'm a little I'm questioning a little bit about how the funds have been allocated, because I don't think that our city has been looked at properly with some of the allocations. And I'm also wondering, and I'll break that down in a moment to go over it. there's also such a large portion of it going to La Casa. The city of Beverly Hills has taken great strides to have proven programs that are really assisting our unhoused. We have used technology with our apricot system, trying to monitor and see where the unhoused are. We're providing wraparound services that are being utilized that are starting to show and prove to be effective. So I would like to, recommend that we start looking at some of those jointly. Instead of reinventing the wheel, they're programs that we've really put a lot of thought and effort. We've already been successful in having many of our unhoused residents find family members, be relocated, find housing, and get mental health care, get support when it comes to substance abuse and substance addiction. And also getting even work related training to go back into the workforce, which are all part of being unhoused. So I guess a few of the items that I have is, while we understand the intent of using the Department of Housing and Urban Development Comprehensive Housing Affordable Strategy, the database, to determine proportional needs. This metrics only counts the number of rental households below 80% AMI and does not factor in Beverly Hills' significantly higher average rent levels, cost of living, and eviction rates, which make each at-risk household more expensive to keep housed. And how will the COG adjust the allocation methodology to account for the intensity of need and cost per intervention? So like cities like ours, where preventing a single eviction requires substantially higher funding, are allocating a more equitable share. Has that been looked at?
Happy to have you jump in and answer. I have some responses myself too.
However you'd like to
Okay,
handle it.
want to go first?
Okay.
And then- Yeah.
So through the chair, Mayor Nazarian, thank you for raising that issue. First of all, in terms of the allocation methodology that we're using, there are so many ways to do this, and we are trying to balance the diversity within our subregion. We felt that this would be really the most, in some ways, the easiest approach, because it's, for better or worse, it's the way that La Casa has divided the money up to begin with among the subregions. So within the subregion, most of the subregion is facing very high rental costs. As a subregion, we're one of the highest price areas to house our residents. So again, nothing's perfect, but we felt like this was something that we could move forward with. It's an acceptable approach that's been used before. And I certainly understand Beverly Hills' particular interests and particular concerns around this. In terms of the programs that you all have pioneered and have had some success with, this is why we felt it made the most sense for us to pass the money through rather than designing new programs at the subregional level. We think this is the year where you all can continue to augment what you're currently doing. We can study it, we can gather the data so we can show what's a proven method and programs, and have that feed into this integrated service model that La Casa is proposing. So having us have a seat at the table, getting an additional 5% to augment your city's efforts, and then actively promoting the programs that make sense for our subregion, I think will give us the best chance of seeing that integrated service model actually benefit us, so that it's not programs that we won't even use on the west side. We have particular issues that relate to being job centers and extremely high cost rental places. So that's the rationale behind
So
that.
if I may, Madam Chair.
Yeah.
So I think that there are certain misconceptions tied to the city of Beverly Hills, that everybody who lives there is wealthy.
Oh,
60% of our residents are in multifamily homes. 10% of them live under the poverty line. I remember when I was door knocking during the elections. I went door to door and I really saw a reflection, and it helped me to be able to understand our community so much more, to be inclusive and to understand that not everybody is living with that. And right now, with the high, we have many at-risk families with young children, as well as our senior population that have zero expendable income right now. And they are really suffering at a lot of these changes that are being made in the housing market, and they don't have that disposable income. So Beverly Hills both contributes a disproportionate higher share of our county taxes and sales revenue, which funds many regional housing and homeless programs and faces some of the highest per household eviction prevention costs in the county. These are numbers that are very apparent. So again, I pose the question to my colleagues. How will COG ensure the allocation methodology reflects not only the number of at-risk households, but also the financial contributions and cost intensity unique to our city, so that the funding we receive is truly equitable? If everybody's putting in their fair share, and we're really trying to be a model, and with the pilots that we're doing are costing our city, and we're all facing the same budgetary restrictions coming up in the future years. So I'm just trying to see if there's a way that we can look at this a little bit better to have it be a little more equitable.
Thank you. I appreciate the conversation. I know the AMI conversation is always sort of where we will get stuck in determining how to support the folks who have need in our community. I imagine that this board would be interested in a conversation around that upper threshold of AMI folks living from 80 to 120%, because it impacts all of our cities on the West Side region. We're all cities that are extremely wealthy cities to some extent, and have residents who are living within a threshold of need that is still sort of unmet in a lot of different ways. I know your Vice Mayor Mirish is a part of the La Casa agency. I serve as an alternate board member to Supervisor Horvath there. And this has been a part of the conversation he's brought to the board, is recognizing that across this very big region that we're trying to scale solutions at, the need is going to vary. And so I think for the sake of this COG, the number 80% was a way for us to find where we can make sure the dollars can go the farthest for the most folks whose needs are so deep that they won't otherwise be touched, because of those folks that are living in the 120%, the folks who have more than the people living at 80% will be able to take too much otherwise. So this is the way we can spread out the most amount of resources, as few as we still have, to do that. But it's, I think with some of the work we have to go, this is a very new threshold of money. It's 3 giant buckets of funds that are still feeling so small for us because of the amount of work we have to do. But there's a lot of time to go to get more information too, and to continue to learn from this program. And if we have been filling needs in our cities, especially after this first couple tranches come in that need to transform, I imagine this COG would be very open to that, as we're all open to trying to make sure that the people in our communities have their needs met in the best way possible.
And so I appreciate that AMI may be the most convenient way to allocate these fundings and to do that. But do we want to do whatever is the easiest way, or do we want to do what's the most fair? Because we all are facing that. And like, as you said, we're all wealthy cities, but we also need to be able to have the funding right now with the budgetary constraints that are coming forward to be able to address the needs of the community. So it feels like there are certain cities that are really not being, I just would want to see a more equitable breakdown for the 4 cities that are being impacted by this.
I'm going to call on Councilmember Yasmin McMorrin.
Thank you. Well, I really appreciate the conversation that's being had and all the work from staff with the presentation. I'm curious about, as we continue to new process, a lot of things are new, building the plane as we fly it, all that. I really appreciate everything that's happening. but how we're going to be measuring as we continue to move forward and what some of those report backs are going to look to. I appreciate staff when addressing our vice chair was able to talk about, the importance of pass-through, the importance of measuring effectiveness. So I'd like to hear a little bit more about how that process is going to go as we move forward, as we might look to recalibrate, as we continue to move through this new process that we're all locking arms and trying to ensure that we're doing our fair share to provide housing in our communities. So I'm curious about the thought that has gone behind, how we're going to continue to move forward and evaluate as we press. Thank you.
Great. Through the chair, and Riley, please feel free to jump in. So we know that La Casa, part of, as you know, Mayor Byers, what part of La Casa is doing is trying to come up with metrics, because the voters have entrusted us with a new source of funding. So we'll be working closely on trying to make sure we help define those metrics with La Casa in partnership with La Casa, but also arrive at metrics that make sense for our subregion. Which is why, and I know we took a while on our presentation, a little bit longer than we typically do. Riley also leads our data team at our firm. And so he's been digging into numbers in each of your cities and trying to see how can we visually represent what's happening, what are some of the projects that are on the books, what are projects that are currently in process that may have funding gaps today, of which we are aware. So he had a conversation with the California Housing Partnership to get additional data on that point. So to your point, Councilmember McMorrin, we will be working closely with your staff to elicit some ideas about some of the metrics that may be important to you all. We really do look at this as a sub-regional program. So we want to find measurements, we want to find metrics that make sense, but that are also clear and not overly complicated. So having the ability to chart the number of units that we've produced that might not otherwise have been produced. Being able to talk about the amount of additional funding we've been able to bring into the region as a result of leverage. So for example, if we use some of this startup funding to get the Housing Trust Fund, the Regional Housing Trust established, that will allow us to pull down state dollars that we would not have had. So that would be a specific element. Starting up a regional housing, a land trust, which I know is of great interest to some folks in the region, is another idea. So we don't have all the answers figured out. I'm not going to pretend that I have like 10 metrics I want to try with you today, but we've spent a lot of time, even just in the last 2 months where we went on this sprint, trying to learn everything we could, developing some of those ideas. And certainly, and you'll see in the staff report, the number of people we spoke to already in the last 2 months, including experts in the field. We're drawing upon our old friends at UCLA and some of the folks at Metro, because we are also, although we are a jobs-rich region, we're also a transit-rich region. And so to the extent that we can work with Metro and their 10K program in building out more units and leveraging their money, we think that could be a really helpful strategy. And we have new rail lines coming in all of our cities. So this could be a great. So those are some of the ideas we have. Riley, is there anything else you want to jump in on?
I mean, I think the only other thing I would add is just, we know that the cost of that rents and just the cost of living continues to rise, and housing costs are such a large portion of that. And we know that the reality of what happens is people who are born here or people who have lived here all their lives are having to move very far away. And we can see that in the data very, very clearly. And, what we don't really have right now is a straightforward place to track that for the West Side subregion, and a straightforward way to tie that to our housing production goals, because of course, we have metrics like the regional housing needs assessment, but those aren't always tied into the quality of life indicators and, cost of living indicators that people actually experience on a day-to-day basis. So I think that's a big part of what I envision is us tying together producing affordable housing and the homelessness prevention and quality of life increases that we want to all see.
I want to make one other point, and this is something, of course, we're going to vet with you. This is remarkably flexible money. And so there's an opportunity to actually hit that missing middle that nobody's building. And so it may not, there may be controversy over this, but I would really like us to spend this year exploring, is there a strategy for the West Side to build missing middle using this money? Which won't need 8 years to assemble 10 layers of financing through a typical LIHTC deal.
That's right.
Can we go faster? Can we build more? Can we accommodate that missing middle that's fleeing our subregion and the entire LA County? And so I think that might be our unique contribution in the in the region, is to leverage some of the innovative models that are being used today that are not using public financing.
That's right.
Is there a way we can use this money to do that?
Vice Chair?
So I guess what I would challenge you with is, we have to focus on making this more equitable between the cities, to be honest with you, because we have to advocate from a single factor to a multi-factor equity model. For example, again, like our city is 50% based AMI. And I'm sorry, this is 50% based AMI. You know, maybe we could base it on that as opposed to 80%. It's just too, it doesn't pan out. 25% of median rent, eviction prevention costs. These are all factors that we should be looking at. You know, maybe 15% of it could be on cost burden household. So for example, spending more than 50% on income on rent, or 10% based on local tax contributions. So that way the AMI has a structure that is set up. So 50% based on the AMI that was recommended, 25% based on median rent and eviction prevention costs, 15% based on cost burden household, 10% based on local tax contributions. So all of it has some kind of a factor if to be able to make it more equitable, because at the end of the day, when I look at the way that this is broken down, I mean, Culver City is getting the lowest share. And I would even challenge my colleagues to see, would it be possible for us to move these numbers around a little bit to come to a place where they look more equitable between the 4 cities?
Councilmember, oh, go ahead.
Oh,
You were called. We'll take you, and then Councilmember Zwick jumped in. Yeah.
Sounds good. So for me, I think equal and equity are 2 different things. I do see the disparate investment, and there are reasons for that staff has illuminated. What I'm most interested in is the measurement of how and the impact of how it goes in this first year, and making sure that we are agile and flexible in terms of responding to the things that we're seeing from the investments. And I think I heard that commitment from staff as we continue to flesh out how we're moving forward. Of course, it would be great to have more, but I'm understanding that we are working in partnership, and there are reasons for the allocations going the way that they did. And again, I just want to make sure that we're accountable and we're measuring how dollars are flowing, and that we have an opportunity on an annual basis, or maybe more frequently, to to come back and just do a check-in. So I'm fine with that, because I think that equity and equality are 2 different things. And as we continue to move forward, everyone will not get the same. And I think that's traditionally how this body has moved, sort of sharing things across the board equally, and that has had interesting outcomes. So I'm curious to see how this moves forward, and I'm fine. I don't want to stall this. I want to make sure that we act on it today, if possible. Thanks.
Councilmember Zwick.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, there's definitely obviously a lot of different potential ways you could slice it, metrics one could use to determine such an allocation. I agree with Councilmember McMorrin. Splitting things equally has its own equity implications, because we aren't all cities with the same amount of need to potentially divvy up this money based on how it was contributed compared to how it's needed doesn't make any sense to me at all. I mean, we might as well just not have a regional body or a countywide tax if we're just going to all return the funds to each jurisdiction in the same degree to which they paid in. I think it has to be based on need. I think there are a lot of other variables, as I mentioned, that could be included. If we talked about unhoused populations by city, I think Santa Monica would do even better if we talked about a number of other things. So it's a discussion I'm willing to have going forward about what other metrics, if any, would be appropriate. But I think it's not about, I mean, obviously population too is a huge one as well. Rents themselves don't seem appropriate to me because that unless there's, I mean, rent burden makes some amount of sense, I think, if you could really accurately measure that across jurisdictions. Rents themselves just seems like rewarding jurisdictions for allowing their rents to go out of control. But there is a understanding that yes, if there's a share of rent burdened could be an interesting metric. But in general, I think, for today, if this is the La Casa formula and we're just replicating it in order to be able to move forward and allocate these funds, I'm comfortable with that.
Thank you. Just to add myself, the RPHP, the Renter Protection and Homelessness Prevention Fund, I am most excited about because it helps fund the programs that are working most effectively in our own cities. And so while the division of resources is one thing, what we get to have is more investment in the things that are working to meet the needs of our cities locally. And so I think that we will all be very vocal about the role that these funds play over the course of the next year as they come into our cities and start to impact our programs. And I hope that we're all very honest about the impact of these funds and are able to report back to this body, as I'm sure we'll all be eager to understand how these funds are transforming the outlook as they were intended to, or not, or not actually happening. So we'll see, and I hope for those conversations to continue. Are there any other questions? And we didn't get to public comment yet, so I don't know if we have a public comment on
We
this.
do have a
item.
public comment.
We do? Okay. Is it Victor again? You're up. I think the microphone's right here, Victor. If you can come over here.
Speak without it. Can you?
We can't hear you on the you. It's always that.
All right, let me see if I can do my. Okay. Victor Omolchenko, longtime West Hollywood resident. And could you just stop the time for me?
Sure.
Mayor, while I get this, okay? You gotta have a mic.
Just a minute. We're almost at time for the meeting anyhow.
Thank you, Josh. Oy vey a microphone. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Kerpes, who's our Rent Stabilization Commissioner in West Hollywood. I'm Victor Omolchenko. And I heard the term drop in the bucket. And until the spigots open from the new La Casa agency, I guess we will all be happy to even get these drops that are being made available to us, especially speaking as a West Hollywood resident and a tenant at this time. I really appreciate seeing that we're going to be getting $631,000 coming in for the renter protection homelessness part of this program. But at the same time, I hear Dr. Nazarian of Beverly Hills bringing up good issues about is the system, whether it's equitable, equal, whatever. I think that's something that this group needs to look forward to because we all try to pay our fair share, but if some people are kind of feeling like they're paying more than what the others are paying, I think we need to look at that. And so I appreciate what the representative from Beverly Hills said. Having said that, I worked in 4 different federal departments over my 35-year career, and I saw people come and go, agencies come and go, and having a new name, a new brand means nothing unless there is change in the personnel that is hired by the new La Casa. So I encourage you, if you can, to get a quarterly report from La Casa as to who they're hiring into the new positions. Now, we know they've hired a CEO, but there are going to be new positions like a general counsel, an inspector general, and I would just be curious on how many folks are coming from the LASA agency, which I've seen operate over the years with money, with finances, with people, but I think it's the people who make an agency. So I recommend that you look at maybe passing a resolution that talks about, hey, let's have a role in who ultimately works at this new
Victor, that's your
agency.
time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm going to come back to this board for any final questions or comments.
Oh,
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 I'm sorry.
yes, I did receive it, I believe. But if you'd like to speak
would you like
here
to come
now,
up
that'd
and
be
speak as well?
perhaps better.
Sure.
Okay, I'm tall. I'm gonna hold it.
Okay.
Hello. Hi, my name is Marjorie Gilberg. I'm the CEO of NCJW Los Angeles. We have been a partner with the City of West Hollywood for more than a decade, distributing rental assistance. These funds are specifically for people who are housed, just as a note, not necessarily for unhoused. I
Right.
just wanted to say that I had a chance to speak with the COG staff prior to this. I support this recommendation, and I also want to offer up that we've distributed more than $7 million to thousands of households across Los Angeles through various channels, including unrestricted direct cash assistance as well as rental assistance. I encourage all of the cities here to consider using these very flexible funds in ways that are a little bit different than the way we've always done it. Happy to make ourselves available as a partner for all of the cities with whom we've had conversations actually to move this forward. So that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other public comment? All right. Any other discussion at the board level? Do we have a motion?
Sorry, just.
Yeah, of course.
So moving forward, I appreciate from Councilmember McCorrin that we're going to be looking at how these funds are distributed. I think that'll be extremely helpful and to see the effects of them. But also moving forward, maybe the issues that were brought up, we could look at that to
Sort of you want to see a sliding scale of what would go beyond 80% AMI to up to 120% AMI to see how the numbers would change in your city.
Right, and just for all of our cities, I think that the way that the contribution has been made, all of the items that I brought up, that would be.
If
Yes,
I may,
please.
Mayor, again, this is our first year with it. So we fully expect that when we come up with the budget for next year, which we will be presenting to you in April, because that budget is due in May, this is the startup, right? That we will fully engage, like, how should we distribute our HPH funds? We just went with the easiest thing, which is a pass through with this pre-used formula. But we may review a number of different items, and we'll certainly work with your cities to propose an analysis using either different allocation rates or even just a different use for the programs. So we're happy to do that, and that's the whole purpose of this first year.
Thank you. And beyond that, I am extremely hopeful and excited that these funds will bring benefit to all of our cities and assist renters who desperately need it right now for all of our cities. So thank you for that. And I think it's a great step in the right direction.
Is that a motion that you're offering?
Yes.
To support?
Move to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you. Motion from Beverly Hills, second from Santa Monica.
Okay.
Roll call vote?
Beverly Hills?
Yes.
Culver City?
Yeah.
Santa Monica?
Yes.
West Hollywood?
Yes.
County of Los Angeles?
Abstain.
Okay.
All right, we'll move to item E, transportation, the SCAG Community Economic and Human Development Committee representative. We have the opportunity to appoint a new representative to the SCAG Community Economic and Human Development Committee for a 2-year term beginning in September. I know Vice Mayor Freddie Puza served admirably from the Culver City, so we thank him for his term. We have 2 candidates before us for this position today. Mayor Sharona Nazarian, our vice chair here at the COG from the city of Beverly Hills, as well as council member Mary Wells, also from the city of Beverly Hills. We have letters of interest in the packets for each candidate, and each candidate is also allowed 1 to 2 minutes to speak. Are there any questions before we go into this portion, or may I introduce our first candidate to speak? Okay, with that, Mayor Nazarian.
Well, thank you very much. I think that it's really important for us to have representation and to be an advocate for our region. And so I would be honored and delighted to be able to serve the community and to serve our cities. Thank you.
Terrific. I don't know that I see Councilmember Mary
Councilmember
Wells here.
Wells is traveling, so she will not be making a statement.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or public comments? No? And can I ask you to proceed with the vote? I'm not sure how that works in
I'm
an
happy to
election.
do that. I think what I'd like to do is Ask for a motion for actually nominations. We have two folks who have introduced or who have expressed interest. And I think maybe the most appropriate way to proceed is to open up for a nomination and a second, and then we'll vote on that individual. And if there's a majority, then that individual will become the representative. If fails to be a majority, then we'll take another nomination. Does that sound, legal counsel?
Yes, that works.
Okay, so we'll, this time, are there any motions to nominate our representative to the SCAG Community Housing Development Committee?
I'll move to nominate Ms. Nazarian.
Terrific.
Do we have a second?
I'll be the second.
Been moved and seconded? Shall I take the
Sure.
roll? Okay, Beverly Hills?
Yes.
Yes. Culver City?
Yeah.
Santa Monica?
Yes.
West Hollywood?
Yes.
County of Los Angeles?
Abstain.
Okay, we have a vote of 4-0. Motion carries. Congratulations, Mary Nazarian, and thank you for serving.
Congratulations.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And please always feel free to reach out if there's anything specific that you would like to have in order to support your cities.
Most certainly. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
We'll move to item 4, the executive director reports.
I'm going to go quickly.
Yes.
Really quick update on the Metro's Sepulveda Transit Corridor. We submitted a letter of support for the on-campus station at UCLA and a seamless connection to Purple Line, which is now known as the D Line, which I'll never remember. I'm just going to tell you, it's always the Purple Line to me. Metro has released its draft EIR, and there's a 90-day public comment period. There are references, there's discussion of the draft EIR regarding this in your packet. We just continue to advocate on behalf of this COG for a really good connection that makes sense. Why spend all this money and not have it go to UCLA? That's all. That concludes my report.
Thank you. I agree. Are there any questions for our executive director? No, see none. Item 5, legislation. We'll turn this over to Jeff Kiernan from the California League of Cities. Thanks for being here, Jeff.
Thank you so much. Just wanted to touch base on some of the legislative issues we're working on. After their month-long recess, the legislature will be returning on Monday. And if you could follow my backwards math, 4 weeks from tomorrow, they will adjourn for the year. So it is a very tight timeline to work on many, many bills that are all winding their way through the process. This coming week will predominantly, really only, be fiscal bills. So the Appropriations Committee meets on Monday. One update to my written report in your packet, SB 79 appears as though it's going to be amended again and will not be heard until Wednesday of next week, August the 20th. Also wanted to just highlight the cap and trade reauthorization that I mentioned in my report. We would really appreciate additional support for that reauthorization from our city membership. Since its inception, the cap and trade program has provided about $30 billion in funding, many of which these grants are used by local governments for transportation, clean air, affordable housing, all sorts of wonderful things. So we are seeking that reauthorization. No bill, but we're just hoping that we expect that it will come up in the final moments of the legislature when they adjourn on September the 12th. Lastly, I'll also highlight the CEQA changes that I included in the report from the budget trailer bill. Predominantly, the league had no qualms with these changes. We do have policy to support streamlining where appropriate, and this certainly did fall into it. I will just call it out because it's a budget trailer bill. They went into effect immediately. And there are some deadlines coming up in October that cities may want to be aware of. So please get with your city manager, your city attorney, and make sure that you understand exactly what these changes will mean for you. One quick thing, we are going to have a sign veto webinar on September the 15th, a few days after the legislature adjourns, just so we can continue to build upon our advocacy in the legislature with the governor, given his month to clear all those bills off of his desk. And then lastly, an update, there were no resolutions submitted by the deadline last Saturday. So unless there is a successful petition resolution at the annual conference, there will not need to be a resolutions committee or a General Assembly meeting. So just wanted to update you all on that. Of course, we still ask that you submit your voting delegates after action by the council, just to make sure we have your voice should there be any petition resolutions coming up. But happy to take any questions, but otherwise I'll stick around and chat with some of you. Thank you.
Quick question from Vice Chair Nazarian.
Can you, so is SB 79 passed at this point, or where is it at? Our city is strongly against it.
Yes, it is in the Appropriations Committee. Like I mentioned, it's being amended yet again. The Senator Wiener has been very successful in carving out sections of the state in order to grab votes. So my guess is that's again what he's doing. Because it's been amended so many times, it will need to go back to a vote of the full assembly and then the full Senate before reaching the governor's desk if they're successful in the legislature.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. We're going to move to section. Thank you so much, Jeff. Item 6, announcements. I understand that we have 2 folks here to give us announcements. Raj Dillon from the LA County Chief Sustainability Office, followed by Eric Rodriguez from SCAG. Is Raj here?
Rhonda.
Oh, I'm sorry. There you are.
Hey, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Is my volume okay?
Great. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, sorry that I could not be there in person. I know we're coming up to the end of time here for the meeting, but just wanted to plug a few things. My name is Raj Dillon. I'm here on behalf of the LA County Chief Sustainability Office, the CSO. Really appreciate this opportunity for just a few minutes. One of the roles that I play for our office is serving as the liaison between the 88 cities throughout the county and our office. And so I'd love to have the opportunity to have more of a discussion later this year, perhaps, to learn more about your sustainability priorities and how our office can help with resources and information to help you in your sustainability efforts. Would love the opportunity to chat with each of the cities here individually. A few things that I wanted to plug. First, we're actually planning to do a tour with local elected officials later this year, a sustainability focused tour. Exact timing and site TBD, but we'd love to have you and your city represented. And more information on that will be coming your way soon. The other thing I wanted to plug is the draft 2025 Our County Plan. This is the county sustainability plan originally adopted by the board back in 2019. We've been undergoing a refresh of that plan. I think in your agenda, the packet, I think there's a little flyer in there that talks about the public comment period. We're accepting public comment on this document until next Friday, the 22nd. So if you have some public comments, we'd love to hear from you, from your residents. I think there's an email in that flyer, but if you go to our website, cso.lacounty.gov, you can check out the full plan, check out all the information and resources. We had some workshops, we had a webinar, got a lot of good feedback already, but a lot of information is up on our website, cso.lacounty.gov. Encourage you all to check that out. And again, I'd love to connect with all the cities here individually, trying to hit all the cogs soon, share a little bit about the draft sustainability plan, but also how our office can help beyond just the plan itself. So we'd love to have another conversation with you all at a later time, but I appreciate this opportunity here. Thanks.
Thank you, Raj.
Thank you. We'll turn it over to Eric from SCAG. I think Josh will share his microphone. Thanks, Josh.
Thank you, Board. Eric Rodriguez with SCAG. I want to re-welcome Councilmember Nazarian back to our SCAG Policy Committee. Look forward to working with you. I have 2 announcements. Registration is now open for the 2025 Southern California Demographic Workshop presented by SCAG in partnership with USC. This is our 36th anniversary, and which will take place at our SCAG main office, but there's also options online as well. This event is free for elected officials and city managers, but for the general admission is $30 in person, but free online. This year's workshop would be revisiting the intergenerational contract. It aims to create a deeper understanding of how groups in our society rely on one another across generations and between life cycle stages. Panels will address the new demographic outlook, growing workforce needs, and contributions of both immigrants and young Californians across the fundamental life cycle sharing that creates mutual support across groups in different life stages. So that might be very poignant today in this political climate. Registration online is open now. Again, it's free for local elected officials. We'll also be having regional demographic experts to discuss how these changing population growth affects our regional planning. Again, that's October 1st, which falls on a Wednesday. And lastly, I wanted to highlight SCAG's Go Human project. This summer, SCAG is partnering with Ciclavia to host play zones at the Culver City Meets Venice Open Streets event, which is this Saturday, August 17th. And so at the Go Human event, we'll be hosting a traffic safety educational play zone and free helmet distribution. So please participate, bring your loved ones and young ones, along with bicycle safety education for attendees. That's again this Saturday, August 17th. Sunday. Thank you for that correction, Councilman. Sunday, August 17th. I appreciate that. And happy to ask any questions. Thank you, board.
Thank you. Any questions for our SCAG rep? Thanks so much for being here. Appreciate you. I know we have one more announcement. I'll pass it over to Councilmember Zwick.
We missed the early introduction, so I did want to say that Santa Monica has a new city manager. His name is Oliver Chi, and he's sitting next to me. And we're just really excited to have him, and he wanted to be here to meet you all.
It's been a while since I breached the orange curtain to get back into LA County, but just fabulously excited to be here. Looking forward to working with everyone on the west side and appreciate the warm welcome. Thank you.
Good to have you here. Okay, item 6, future meeting and agenda items. Our next meeting will be held in the city of Beverly Hills at City Hall in the second floor Municipal Gallery. It'll be Thursday, October 16th. It's the third Thursday of the month, not the second. We should be at Cal Cities the week before. That's why it's moved. So we'll see you there. Are there any final public comments in the room today?
Chair, if I may, this is legal counsel. Quick correction to the agenda. This is item 7. The agenda was listed correctly. I believe your notes are identified as item 6.
Right. Thank you. Fabulous. I did see one person raise a hand in the back for final public comment. Come on up.
Please.
Then jump in line. Thank you so. There we go.
Good afternoon. Thank you for allowing me. I was afraid because I was a little late. I got lost. I'm Mackenzie Neely Wright with AT&T. I wanted to give you just a few updates. One of them, you might have heard in the news that we had our Gardena facility had a fire. No one was hurt in the fire. We've been actively getting people back online. There was a little bit of an outage that took out the Gardena 911 dispatching system, as well as Redondo Beach, but they were all forwarded and things are getting back to normal. But this is not like a arson from what we can tell, but we're still doing an investigation. While I know it's not Westside City specific, it's still adjacent, and still just wanted to give you an update as some of the residents in your areas may have been impacted by the outage. Also wanted to give you an update on AB 470, which is a AT&T sponsored bill that Assemblymember Tina McKenna is authoring. We are moving to appropriations next Monday, hopefully to go into the suspense file. I think that's August 18th. I hope so. But there have been just a few amendments, and if there are questions, concerns, opposition, I really want to open up the opportunity to have a conversation with your cities, just to understand the concerns and see how we can massage the bill. There have been multiple amendments that have been made as far as maps, as far as labor concerns, as far as affordability, and making sure that no one is left behind. And so those are just a few things that I wanted to share. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. We'll pass it to Victor Olmachenko, and then I see one final public comment in Zoom. We'll go to that next.
Victor Omelchenko again, and thank you for this very interesting meeting. I like seeing that you're addressing issues of transportation, of course, of housing and homelessness, and I like seeing new city managers come to the fore, and our city is going to be looking for a city manager too. So welcome to the area. I heard SB 79 mentioned, and in the minutes from your last meeting, there was just a brief allusion to it about SB 79, and I now hear an update. And I did a little bit of research, and I found that the city of Santa Monica, the city of West Hollywood, and the city of Culver City did send in support for SB 79 to, I guess, Sacramento, but the city of Beverly Hills did not. And of course, we can all have differences of opinion. And I look forward to hearing and going to Beverly Hills and finding out about its concerns. But what I want to tell you about SB 79 and what I'm hearing from renters is, and West Hollywood is an 80% tenant city, many people are rent stabilized, is that SB 79 may just be one of these Trojan horse things where a lot of gentrification will come in along these major transit lines within 1/4, 1/2 mile. And I want to be sure that if rent stabilized apartment buildings are destroyed by developers for new higher structures, that there be some rules codified, that there be a 1-for-1 replacement of all the lost rent stabilized housing. We have lost over the last 10 years 1,000 rent stabilized units in West Hollywood, only to be replaced by a meager 20% of affordable housing. This SB 79, in my opinion, is not a good deal.
Thank you, Victor. We'll move to our final public comment. We have Walter Lamb, Zoom. Oh,
Walter?
1 second, Walter. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to comment. Walter Lamb, I'm representing the Binding Wetlands Land Trust. At the last meeting, your staff was kind enough to read some comments into the record. It was basically a question that I had. And just seeing if I can find an answer. Your meetings are always great to attend. It's always a great civics lesson. And my question is kind of an extension of that. It's just trying to understand, from the voter to the city council, and then the city council's sending representatives to the COG, and then the COG, as you just did on a previous agenda item, electing representatives to represent the COG in different bodies. And then sometimes those folks choose alternates. How does that all sort of tie back to, different policies? And if there's a way for me to find out that information, I could speak with somebody on the staff. I don't know if there are bylaws. I'm just trying to understand how that works because we just want to have that correct framework as we assess a decision that was made previously at the Santa Monica Bay Restoration Commission by someone representing the COG. Does that question make sense? Is there anyone that could point me in the right
Walter,
direction?
you totally make sense. That's the most we can answer, but I'm happy to speak with you offline about the concern you have. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. We are concluded with public comments. I appreciate everyone for the longer meeting than we typically have today. My first meeting, it won't continue like this, I promise. We'll adjourn now at 1:26 p.m. Thanks again. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Well done. Well done, Sharon.
Thank you.